Crosby from the corner, twisting and turning inside out. Beautiful move, trying to get the shot on. He holds, he shoots, he scores! Absolutely!
The pitch, high fly ball, center field. It's hit pretty well toward the wall. Goal!
Roethlisberger gives it a lot of room here. Juju Smith-Schuster off to the races inside the 30, the 20, the 10.
Wow, look at that 10-year anniversary logo by Anthony Veltri. We're coming to an end with it come October for our anniversary. It'll be 11 years. Hard to believe we've been here for 11 years. Thank you for watching our live Pittsburgh Sports Line in the BPTV studio in the Municipal Building. Yes, the Municipal Building right here with the library above us. Our friends that do
The haunted library above us.
Our friends Bo and Nick, they do the haunted library tonight. They're filming, so stay tuned for that. We're downstairs where it's not haunted, except by the one guy dressed up like a Yankee today. And we don't know who he is because he actually hates baseball. And I won't say he's lied, but he's misrepresented the truth about him playing baseball because Vida Blue was a lefty. So for him to say he was like Vida Blue, we know he never played. Oh, sorry. And the mayor's offices are here. Police are right over there. They may need to see Smoking Jim tonight. We'll see. I'll talk to a couple of them. And thank you for watching us on Comcast 7. Thanks for watching us on Verizon 32 in the greater Pittsburgh area, all the way from Nemacolin to Cranberry, Wexford, and all points in between. And that Comcast 7, you only got us in Bethel Park. That's how Comcast rolls. Thank you for all the likes on Facebook. We're holding steady at 6950. So we need 50 to get that 7K. We're looking at 7K. So keep that on your mind. And we got some great sports and other entertainment out there, and some different things have been happening locally. Maybe even a couple things Smoking Jim will be aware about, because I think they call him a Steelers scout at times. Not only a model scout.
How about a Steelers critic?
Well, I won't call him like a bucko.
They call him a pirate hater, a
Yeah,
Steelers
he's a
critic,
bucko hater.
and an expert on the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah. Well, no, a semi-expert, because due to the 10 years of us talking about Penguins, Chip, and now Nick the last couple years, and myself, he's learned a few things. We're on...
Yeah, like who Alex Ovechkin is.
Yeah. And to take a phrase from Tomlin, he is truly a one-trick pony. That's Ovechkin, and Smoking Jim loves the one-trick ponies. All right, well, enough of that. We got some promos here. We're going to start up. We got Corey on the camera here. He's our newest rookie. We'll see how he does here. I think I got this tonight once, Nick. How'd I do?
You did great. You're good.
This old dog can learn some tricks. All right, let's see what he got. I did shut it down. You tested me.
I did. I thought I heard a little bit, but that's okay.
Oh, did you?
I did hear a little bit.
Okay, thank you. Olive Oil's Pizzeria, Hillcrest Shopping Center. Frank Fanera, the owner, sponsors our show with an XL pepperoni pizza and a steak hoagie cut into 6 slices so we don't fight over it here. And A2 won't be here, and Ryan won't be here, so we got A1 back in the control room where Smoking Jim has his little saying on how he looks and what he does. And we got Corey on the camera. He did nice with the olive oils, got it nice and close. 412-831-1900. Give them a call. They got specials. They got new prices on their menu. Wow, look at how my logo, Pittsburgh Sports Line, is right next to it. You talk about branding. I can't get a finger over there. Can't get it in there. Whoa, it's too far away. Yeah, moving around. All right, check out their Italian food, pasta, desserts, you name it. They even got ziti, and they can make Smoking Jim some meatballs and all kinds of things like that. And somehow in the last 2 months, he found the Clapper. Because he's unbelievable working at Clapper. We're going to go to next little promo that we do. We'll see how Corey does on this. Corey did great on that last one. We appreciate the camera work, especially if it's not on. Boom! Great job, Corey. We have to do a little disclaimer. Smoking Jim told all of us, and me especially, 11 years ago that he's an honest man. And I know you guys have friends and ladies have friends. If they tell you like more than 10 years, does that mean they're still honest? Bethel Park Historical Society, Schoolhouse Arts and History Center, 2600 South Park Road. It's right where the red and white trolley is. You can't miss it. They have all kind of great things. The school was founded in 1905 and built. First high school in Bethel Park. They refurbished it from top to bottom. New cupola with the old bells back up there. An antique flag is there. The driveway's there. They're going to be putting pavers with your names on it. You can get them. I'm going to get a couple for Alan Levine, the talking machine. You can get them at the Bethel Park Historical Society for $100. So it's going to shape up that way. They have a dance studio. They have an artist. And they got all kind of activities throughout the year. They have military uniforms. They have my favorite tea place / coffee place, Reginald's Coffee. Their coffee is roasted coffee from around the world. You name it, they have a roaster right in their venue. And Matt and Julie do a great job there. They have different treats there for you. Orham's Bakery. Once a week, they drop off their famous donuts that Smokin' Jim doesn't know about. So you can check that stuff out. And Bethel Park Historical Society. All right. We'll see what Corey does. He doesn't touch a thing, so we all know what they're doing. That looks good. Nice close-up. The B in Always Be Smiling stands for Bennett. And I'll flip over. I was giving a little test to see if Corey could handle this switcheroo. Neither one could handle that, so mission accomplished. Bennett was a happy handicapped kid, had 2 kidney transplants, the final one by his dad, Dean, and Kristen, his mother. They started Always Be Smiling in honor of Bennett, who died a couple years ago at 16 and a half. It's a 501c3. If you donate money there, it can go to a good cause and help families with kids that need kidney transplants. Helps with some of their expenses. They have different activities. I saw they had another activity last week. They involve communities and different walking trails, do different events. They have a lady named Ann that has horses. They do horse rides and different things like that. So check them out. Thanks to all of you for always liking Always Be Smiling. We're up over 1,200 likes from 800, so I appreciate all my friends doing it, and we'll keep promoting Always Be Smiling. 501c3, donate $1, your time, or see what they're doing near you. All right, big test for Corey. Hands free, he is good. There we go. Nice close-up of Joey Fabus before DIPG, the dreaded brain cancer that killed him later on when he was dying with DIPG. It's a death sentence when they get diagnosed with it. He died at 8.5 years old, like 7 years ago. And his family, that's the second child they lost. The first one was due to kidney disease. The Joey Fabus Childhood Cancer Foundation does different events. They got the big event, I think it's September 18th. And it's at the high school. It's the Joey Fabus Childhood Cancer 5K 1 mile superhero walk and run. I film it each year. We interview the people and families there. Local DJ Scar, who I know, puts out some great music. And we do a half an hour to an hour show interviewing everybody there. And that's where their biggest fundraiser is. So check out what the Joey Fabus Childhood Cancer Foundation is doing to help find a cure. All right, a social worker friend of mine said to contact this lady named Kathleen Miller. I told her we'll help her get a kidney. Her kidney function was at 17%. I said make a flyer. Look at Corey, got the nice smiling Kathleen there. Good shot. And she gave us this flyer, and about 6 months ago she said she had a living donor like I had with my son. She can't tell us who it is till she gets her kidney transplant. Then we'll know if it was somebody that saw it watching our show or not. I'm proud if it is, and even if not, I'm glad that we could help promote and get the word out for Kathleen. And anybody else that may need help like that, we could do it on our show. We know there's thousands of people watching our show each time, so we appreciate that. All right. Next up, I'm a trustee on the board of the Bethel Park Community Foundation. There it is. Wanted. Bethel Park groups and organizations who need money. We have grant money for you from $100 to $5,000. We've given out over $1 million in 26 years, and we plan on to continue doing that. Go to bpcf.org. You guys know about the www, so you can find that online. Get an application, and then appeal to us. We meet once every couple months, and you can get some money for your group doing great things in Bethel Park to make our community better. Thank you. All right. Last but not least, you have to watch our older shows where Smokin' Jim learned about, I forget who the guy is, but somebody would call him Uncle Sam. Dave Cable put my face on him, smiling there. I want you. You can see the bottom part where Corey got a close-up of me smiling at you. I want you for BPTV. If you're in high school, you could start here to help your audio video career here. Dave Cable's a great teacher. We can use volunteers here at the studio anytime. A couple of our volunteers didn't make it tonight, so you could have filled in to be on Pittsburgh Sportsline Live. We have over 700 shows, so you could be a part of this. You could be in the control room like Anthony. You could be on all the cameras like Corey. He's handling 3 cameras. Imagine you can run a show like Corey. And then Nick weaseled his way into the VIP seat. So you could actually be on air and talk some sports if you're knowledgeable. And that's a nice wide shot by the control room. Look at what A1 did. Yeah. He's on fire. All right, enough of that. I got to ask Smokin' Jim Frazier, what's on your mind?
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And if you want the green, you got to see Levine. And my main
He
man,
caught it.
My main man A2 is off today because he's at the Soul Art Festival. Al, when did they start having that? That was all weekend long. Did you know about it, Chip? Woo! I could have got me some good art.
Smokin' Jim, one question. Where'd you get
Right
your
out of the trunk of
information?
somebody's car.
Yeah, that's it. Al Levine, the talking machine. I tell you what.
What?
I don't know if Flurry will lift the curse, but I'm officially a Penguin
Disclaimer,
fan.
there's no curse on the Penguins.
Well, I'm officially a Penguin fan. They did the right thing. They re-signed all the players, whether people like it or not. I always like to be loyal to legendary players, and the Penguins came through. And finally, I got to give it up to my man. When you're 6'5", 240 pounds, got a 40-inch vertical jump, runs a 4.3 40, your rookie year you had 11 touchdowns. I agree with Chase Claypool. There ain't 4 receivers in the NFL better than him. Last year they didn't go to him enough. I think this year starting quarterback Mason Rudolph will throw it up to him.
Smokin'
And
Jim,
that's what's on my mind.
we got to disclaim
That's what's on my mind.
all the things that Smokin' Jim said.
He had a first-round grade.
They're not based in any facts here. He's a Steeler scout, NFL scout, but he's off the rails tonight. First of all, he never was a Penguin fan because he likes Ovechkin. Second of all, he's not a baseball fan. And then third of all, he's usually against Steelers when they re-sign a player or two for multi-million-dollar contracts. Here, we got the 3 core here, that they keep paying him millions of dollars like they're still in their 20s. How much sense does it make for a guy we don't know how old he is?
I'm going to some
First
games
of all,
this year.
no, he's not, because he ain't paying for those seats. When he
Get
sees,
the fuck out of here!
yeah, and anybody that's dressed up like a Yankee saying he likes the Pirates, you know I got to spell the word out, L-I-A-R.
Nick
So-
likes the Yankees too.
Well, yeah, and I have a different reason for that.
Well-
And that was my favorite "What's on my mind" segment from you. Just saying, of all the ones I've seen so far, that one was just
Thank you,
clearly
sir.
just.
Well, I know you like the truth, but with Smoking Jim, you make an exception.
Yeah, no, I mean it was just a good time. That minute and a half.
All right. Hello to Ralph. Hello to Amy. Tony from Chick-fil-A, who we saw last week. We got a sandwich. Drew and I got a sandwich, and he put down Smoking Jim on the order.
Really?
So they go, is your order for Smoking Jim? The lady who I know, she knows I'm Al.
Okay.
She goes, it's Smoking Jim. I go, that's us. That's Tony. She goes, oh, I know Tony. So
Well, that's because
Smoke-
you did the right thing because it was the Soul Art Festival weekend. So
I
I'm your
still
favorite
don't-
soul.
I never heard about
I'm
it.
your favorite soul.
no, I never heard that. And Tony goes, Smoking Jim brings a smile to many faces who watch the show. Like, look at him. He's nonstop laughing. All right, enough of that. Let's go to Chip Hayner. What's on your mind?
What's on my mind? Well, Smoking Jim touched on one thing. Penguins, at the 11th hour, they signed Evgeny Malkin last week.
He's a great negotiator.
But here's the thing that amazes me, and I listen to talk radio
Yes.
while I'm in my work truck during the course of the day, and I just it blows me away how many experts
You got one next to you.
commentate on
The
the Penguins, the Pirates, and the Steelers. Not to be left out, you know, because immediately after the Penguins signed the Evgeny, okay, everybody's criticizing the Penguins because they're coming back with the same team doing the same thing, the same people, and they expect a different result. It's the definition of insanity. But of course, you know, we don't wait a couple of days to see exactly what does happen because free agency was happening, the draft happened.
Great points, Chip.
And you know, and over the course of the last week, the Penguins have remade the team actually and have done are going to have a better team going into next year than they came out of last year with.
Great points, Chip. I couldn't agree with you more.
But we are in such a hurry to put something negative out there because negative gets likes on Facebook. It gets retweets on Twitter. It causes people to call in because negative sells.
Hold it. Wait a second. That must be why Smoking Jim talked about the Soul Festival. You would think he would represent and go there and wear something apropos, but he put the Yankees uniform and hat on. Thanks, Chip. I had to get that in.
So, you know, the next thing up is you've got the Pittsburgh Pirates are in the midst of a rebuild. Now, the person that's responsible for the rebuild, Ben Cherington, has a history of success at doing exactly what he's doing now.
Tell him where.
But we are going to criticize him the way he's doing things, and because the change hasn't happened yesterday, this takes time. But you know what? I'm a believer of trusting the people that know what they're doing because they've got a history of success. And let's see how everything plays out before we start criticizing, because I'm not an expert. I'm a fan. I'm a knowledgeable fan, I'd like to think, but I don't know all the ins and outs and have all the inside information, because the person that does have the inside information is Ben Cherington. The person that does have the inside information for the Penguins is Ron Hextall. And the people that have the inside information for the Pittsburgh Steelers are the Hall of Fame coach Mike Tomlin and the new general manager Omar Khan. Not the so-called insiders who report after the fact on every move these teams
Hold
make.
it. I got to disclaim it.
That's what's on my mind.
Chip, I just heard on Claudio Rosano's show, he does a great podcast, and he's had Smoking Jim on probably a dozen times. I happened to listen to a little bit of it before it got cut off. They said there was some technical difficulty. I'm watching it, and I'm listening, and Smoking Jim talks about Omar Khan doesn't know football. And he's worked with the Steelers for 20-some years. He just knows numbers. So we got the Steeler scout scouting the Steeler owners and management, and like me, he doesn't like Art Rooney because he's just a fan.
He doesn't like Art Rooney. He doesn't like Mike Tomlin. He doesn't like Omar Khan. He didn't like Kevin Colbert. Is there anybody else? Did I miss anybody?
I love Dan Rooney.
Yeah, and then I wanted to make a point before we get too deep into this. Charrington, after Nutting, who most people hate in Pittsburgh, he cleaned house. So he brought new people in, and Chip didn't mention it, so I'm going to mention that he was at Toronto. And Smoking Jim, do you know anything about Toronto?
No.
Thank you.
Other than it's in Canada.
He didn't know that.
I've been there before.
Okay.
Really?
Their stadium is beautiful. Their stadium was state of the art when I went there. The Rocket Ismail played, and there was a shopping mall.
Was it the Sky Dome?
restaurants. Yeah.
Well, I think that
Beautiful.
stadium's closed.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's falling down. So that's how many years.
Well,
ago it's
you're
been.
older than we think. You're not 30. We understand that he's not 30. Then, do you ever hear of another team? Because there was a curse when this team traded Babe Ruth.
A real curse.
Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
The-
Yankees
the
beat 'em to
Boston
death.
Red
My
Sox.
Yankees beat them to death this week, or last week.
I don't
No,
think.
they were on a losing streak last
13.
week.
Yeah,
No,
they
Yankees beat them 13-1 when I was watching.
yeah, that's still just one game. I'll
Oh,
get to.
that's the game I watched.
He only highlights one game, but that's where Ben Charrington's from. And you know what he had there? Success.
I'm proud of Hextall. He did a great job.
We were
this
talking
offseason.
Charrington. Thank you for changing the subject, but we wanted to try to get your baseball mind, and we saw it's not working well. So, thank you, Chip. I appreciate it. No disclaimers on Chip. We'll go to Nick Callis.
Well, we got a name change for the field that's referred to as Heinz Field, and I'm not going to even name the
You
new
can't
company.
pronounce it.
I can.
You can't pronounce
Can we
it.
refer to it as the stadium formerly known as Heinz Field?
Yes.
Sure we can. Sure we can. I support that.
Hey, look at Star
Support
Lake.
that. Yeah. No.
Look at now Star Lake.
Totally.
They call
I'll-
it the Pavilion.
I'll call it.
No,
I'll
it
call
was
it.
formerly known as Prince.
I'll call it.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll call it Heinz
That
Field.
was a soul thought.
I'm not huge on it and on the name change and
What do you feel about it?
ooh, well, that's the thing. I forgot to mention one thing before I get into this show. I announced Wiffle Ball yesterday too, and Sea Turtles won in the Whiff is Life League. I wanted to shout out Jacob Davey. I forgot he's the commissioner of the league, and he wanted me to talk about that.
And
I
he's a
forgot about
great
that.
guy. I talked
Nice
to
man.
him. We tried
I
to
was
get
met him
some
before, too.
advertisements and possibly a guest on the show sometime in the future.
But their league is crazy, and I wanted to mention that first. But this name change is just so on my mind as well that I had to speak about that too. So just I put my thoughts into this. So just go ahead and take a look at what I got for you.
Heinz Field Forever by the VIP. The rain falls, the cranes were called to take my dear Ketchup away. Tears shed, fans fled because had too much to pay. I never went to Heinz Field to watch the Steelers play. Oh no, I never went to Heinz Field to give the NFL a raise. After scores, I felt so warm, seeing the ketchup bottles fall. But now I'm sure that greedy should never have come to Pittsburgh at all. This is dedicated to all the Yinzers who want to tell to go themselves.
Yeah. So I wrote a little poem there, so they can take their name and go somewhere else. Not a big fan of the new stadium name, and I couldn't express it better than that. So that's what's on my mind.
Great job, great job.
I just wanted to announce that's a Pittsburgh Sports Line first, that somebody created a poem and a video. That was just unbelievable. Hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed it too. And I can't worry about Art Rooney the second or whatever third putting $150 million in his pocket. They're billionaires, so money goes to money. And we'll go to my what's on my mind. What's on my mind is I followed baseball my whole life. I don't like watching exhibition games or batting practice, but I broke one of my rules. I watched batting practice, and I was impressed with the batting practice. What I wanted to say is when we pitch batting practice, and Chip can co-sign it, there's a rubber on the mound, like 60
feet,
feet
6 inches from the plate.
away. In Little League, it's less, 42 or something, and then 54 in Babe Ruth or whatever. Smoking Jim knows all that. Did you ever step on the rubber?
I was a great pitcher.
He didn't answer the question, so he did not.
He lives in Monroeville. Of course he has.
Time out. That was good, Chip. I appreciate it. Did he hit any of the needles? All right, we got that out of the way. But I watched the home run derby because Pujols is 42 years old, and Chip posted up Babe Ruth's last day of baseball. He hit 3 home runs at Forbes Field. We all know it. I even know a girl I went to school with, Shuli. Her dad was there that day. He was a lawyer in Pittsburgh, took care of the pit players.
Phil Coyne was there.
Yeah.
Not as an usher, but he was
As a
in the
kid,
stadium
yeah.
as a kid.
Yeah, so, and I know another guy, I forget his name, he was there too, and he passed away before I got to interview him. And so I was interested because Babe Ruth was 42 the same time. That was his last game. 2 home runs out there, and one he hit over the roof, the first one ever.
Wow.
And what I liked about it, I forgot that it went 600 feet.
Wow.
And Mickey Mantle had a record 565 feet. Josh Gibson had a few supposedly that went over 600. So, but we don't have real verification there. So I was interested in seeing what Pujols would do.
Well, here's the thing, and I didn't watch a second of the batting practice.
I understand.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But the interesting thing that I found out is that Juan Soto won the batting practice.
Yeah.
Okay, and he hit 53 home runs in the course of the exercise.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way. And the gentleman that came in second place actually hit 82 home runs.
Yeah.
So-
I wanted to bring him up. Rodriguez with the Mariners,
So
who's 21.
you know, why isn't it a cumulative thing? How can you hit 82 home runs and somebody hit 53 and beat you?
Well, if you watch,
I'll
hold on,
explain.
I got it. Pick me,
Oh,
pick
go
me. I
ahead.
want to explain.
Nick out of the bullpen.
Because when you're doing your rounds, you have to beat each opponent through the bracket.
Yeah.
That's why. You got to beat the opponent you're
It's each
facing in the
round.
I
moment.
didn't know. I didn't know that the
That's the
batting
rule.
practice
Each-
had brackets.
Yeah.
Okay.
You should watch because it's called the home run derby where they're hitting home runs.
Right.
Well, my
They don't get points for hitting the ball in line drives. They
Guess
got to
what
hit
I
over
was
the
doing?
wall.
I was studying the inside of my eyelids. I was getting a good night's sleep.
Well,
Well,
that-
you did well.
That's how because they play in a bracket.
And then the thing that amazed me is with batting practice, like I was going before I interrupted myself, we always pitch from the mound. And these guys were 20 to 30 feet away from home plate. Wow. And the one guy for Soda was just throwing it right in the same area each time. He was not even taking a stride. And Chip, he was just throwing, like we were told not to aim the ball. Every pitch was in the outside right side of the plate, but he's a left-handed batter. And it was right there. And Rodriguez for the Mariners, he hit 32 home runs and then 30 home runs in his first 2 rounds to win. So he had 62. He's the first rookie. He's 21 years old, and he's got some power like you can't believe to ever do that since they've been doing it. So none of these stats mean much to Chip, but I watched the whole thing, and there was some drama to it and, different things there. And Schwarber, that used to be with the Cubs, Schwarber, you know who he is? Okay.
Yeah, Garrett Cole knows who he is. That ball still hasn't landed.
Yeah, he's one of the better home run hitters. And I thought that with Pujols, he had 13 home runs. So there was a little drama there that he only had 13. Schwarber came up. They were thinking he could hit 18, 19, no problem. He was struggling. So he had a timeout, called the timeout, tied Pujols. So they had a break the tie. And then I believe in some sports fixed, and a habitual degenerate gambler like Smoking Jim knows that, but he still bets anyhow. And Schwarber couldn't hit a home run for a few minutes, and Pujols ended up winning to go to the next semifinal round. So I believe a little gamesmanship, and they all were saluting Pujols. It was great for him and his family, and it just made it seem like a family sport. But again, it was batting practice, and they hit hundreds of home runs like that. They had a full stadium, so we're missing something, Chip. We don't get it.
Not at all.
Is Pujols
Did anybody
first
that was
baseman
in-
or just a designated hitter?
He's Smoking Jim.
Because anybody can play first.
No, Smoking Jim has hate and disdain for baseball. He thinks that you don't have to have any skill to play the game.
So here's my question. Did anybody that was in that tournament last night or in batting practice have an average above 250?
I think one maybe two.
Average over 250?
Yeah, there could be a couple.
Three.
Well,
Three of eight?
Yeah. Well, that's not bad.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, when you got 30%, because for all of you baseball fans like Smoking Jim, he failed 9 out of 10 times in baseball, so he couldn't make it to the Hall of Fame. But Hall of Famers fail 7 out of 10. They only hit the ball 3 out of 10 times. Smoking Jim only learned that on Pittsburgh Sportsline.
We're
gonna come back before
Khan.
we're gonna come back to Smoking Jim in 10 seconds with some fiction and fact for Smoking Jim's Almanac. Look for the graphic right now.
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And I tell you what, man, I'm going to go very quickly because Nick and Chip and Al Levine, the talking machine, hit on a lot of this. Hey, listen, I've been a season ticket holder to the Steelers since I was 4 years old. Didn't always agree with everything.
What year was that?
Didn't always agree with everything that Dan Rooney did, but he was a football man. Dan Rooney was at every practice. He was involved in every level of the operation.
He was even a ball boy.
He was even a ball boy.
He wanted Johnny Unitas.
Well, they played against each other in high school, and they did draft Johnny Unitas, but they cut him like they did Lynn Dawson, and they went on to be Hall of Famers. But Al Levine, the talking machine, always had a problem with Art Rooney II. Number one, he never liked football. Number two, he went out to become a lawyer, figured out he wasn't Perry Mason, so he went running back to the team.
I heard that on Claudio's show.
I know who that is.
Yeah, he says it on Claudio's show.
He made several mistakes. His first mistake that he made was he hired Russ Grimm, and Dan Rooney came in and said, well, wait a minute, we got to interview a token first. That's how Mike Tomlin got the job. You
know what he actually
You
said?
mean that Hall of Fame head coach, Mike Tomlin?
Well, Art
Hold
Rooney
it,
II
Smoking.
hired
We got to disclaim.
Russ Grimm.
We got to disclaim
As a head
the
coach.
token thing because that comment's derogatory. But there's
What did I
a
say?
rule. Yeah, here's
Rooney
why.
rule.
Yeah, here's why you're derogatory. You called it a token. We don't care about the token comment, but there's a Rooney rule that they went by, which they started.
Well, no, they didn't start it.
Yes, they did.
It was actually Johnny, who represented OJ? It was Johnny not Johnny Gamage. Who's the guy that?
He got killed.
The guy that represented OJ was suing the NFL. They had a class action suit against the NFL.
Hold it.
And that was the Rooney
Johnny
rule.
Cochran.
Johnny
Cochran.
Cochran.
Wait, time
Johnny
out.
Cochran was
Smoking
the one.
Jim.
That was the Rooney rule.
Who came up with it in the NFL?
No, they
The Rooneys.
No, they didn't.
On the committee,
Johnny Cochran already had that in his litigation, and the NFL gave it to the Rooneys for
Hold
name
it.
recognition.
My man, they're
They didn't come
they're
up.
billion.
You think they wrote that in?
No, I don't think you write or talk about what you're talking about.
I'm telling you, I'm giving y'all some information.
No,
Mr.
here's
Trump.
This is an almanac story.
Here's the information on it. Whoever gave it to him knew
Johnny
that the
Cochran.
Rooneys leaned towards that and would promote it. Do you think they'd go to some of the other owners?
Well, I already said I
Think-
like Dan Rooney.
No,
Art
but
Rooney had nothing to do with that.
my
He
simple
wasn't even
question,
around then.
he won't answer a question. Do you think he could have gone to any other owner except for Rooney to do it?
Art
No.
Rooney was chasing ambulance then. Art Rooney the second. Damn Rooney.
right.
Damn Rooney.
We gotta move on.
Let's move on.
Next thing they did, they bring in a guy instead of Omar Khan threatened to leave the Pittsburgh Steelers. Instead of promoting him to vice president, they make him a general manager. He wouldn't know a football from a tennis ball, so they had to bring in the assistant general manager to do his job. And lastly, don't forget, when I'm afraid now, had no business. We're the 13th largest city in the United States, and there's not a business locally. Don't forget, when Art Rooney II, when their mom passes away, don't be surprised if the Pittsburgh Steelers sell for $3 to $5 billion, and somebody moves the franchise out of Pittsburgh. That Art Rooney II is a businessman.
Well, Smoking Jim, you've made outrageous.
You heard it here first.
You've made outrageous statements before, like Cleveland would win the Super Bowl. So I'm going to put it in the simple category. Just remember Cleveland.
And that's what's on my mind, a fiction and fact for Smoking Jim's on that.
Chip Hayner, trivia time in 10 seconds.
Chip agrees.
A lot of hubbub lately regarding the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pittsburgh Pirates are going to announce their own Hall of Fame sometime around the beginning of August. And the arguments are already popping up: who belongs in the Pirates Hall of Fame, who shouldn't be in the Pirates Hall of Fame, how many people are going to be elected, should it be 5, should it be 10, should it be 12, should it be 13. Who knows what the number should be, but these are just some of my thoughts on the subject. I look at who should the inaugural members of the Pirates Hall of Fame, and I would go straight to the Baseball Hall of Fame. And there's 13 people that spent their entire careers with the Pirates. Give you a quick rundown of who I think should be put in. Honus Wagner, of course, number 1. Fred Clark, number 2. Pie Traynor, number 3. Big Poison Paul Wainer, number 4, over 3,000 hits, as well as Honus Wagner. Max Carey, 2,667 hits. Little Poison, Lloyd Wainer, almost 2,500 hits. Jake Beckley with 2,930 hits.
I don't know that name.
Turn of the century, and that was the 20th century.
Right.
Roberto Clemente, well, goes without saying. Ralph Kiner, Archie Vaughn, Willie Stargell, Bill Mazeroski, Barney Dreyfuss. Okay,
You know who he was, Smoking Jim? It figures a non-Pirate baseball fan.
But I also heard that one of the inaugural members of the Hall of Fame is going to be, and should be, no less than Steve Blass, who devoted 60 years of his life to this organization. Not only was Steve Blass a top-notch pitcher, pitched 2 complete game victories in the 1971 World Series. Game 3, when the Pirates were down 2-0, threw a complete game win.
Yes.
In Game 3, Game 7, 2-1, beat the Orioles, pitched a complete game. And I have one more that I believe that should be put in without any question, who is not in the Hall of Fame but should be. No other than Danny Murtaugh. Whoa. Danny Murtaugh is the only manager that the Pirates ever had that won 2 world champions as manager of the team.
Yeah.
I heard somebody mention that if Barry Bonds isn't included in the Pirates Hall of Fame, then they shouldn't even open the doors of it. Here's what my thoughts are about that. Based on what his accomplishments were with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and this was prior to him cheating, I do believe that Barry Bonds would be deserving of being in the Pirates Hall of Fame at some point, not in the inaugural class. Because even though he may have been the best player of his generation, I don't believe that he was the best player that ever played for the Pirates.
Right.
Okay? Just my humble opinion. Now, tonight, Midsummer Classic.
Yeah.
A couple of things I want to go over. Some records here from the Midsummer Classic. These are pitching statistics.
All right.
Okay? Now I'm going to go with the most earned runs allowed in an All-Star game by Atlee Hammaker of the San Francisco Giants, 7.
Wow.
Earned runs allowed in an inning, Atlee Hammaker with 7. Hits allowed, Tom Glavine with 9.
Whoa.
Hits allowed in an inning, Tom Glavine with 7.
Wow.
Home runs allowed, Jim Palmer for the Baltimore Orioles
Great
with
pitcher.
3. Innings pitched by Lefty Gomez with 6. Strikeouts, Carl Hubbard, Larry Jansen, Ferguson Jenkins, and Johnny Vandermeer, each with 6 strikeouts.
Wow.
Johnny Vandermeer, of the fame of pitching back-to-back consecutive no-hitters. Never been done before, never will be done again. Consecutive strikeouts, Carl Hubbard and Fernando Valenzuela at 5. And on July 13th, 1999, Pedro Martinez set a record for most consecutive strikeouts from the start of the game. He struck, his victims were Barry Larkin, Larry Walker, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire. But the most amazing statistic regarding strikeouts in an
Go ahead.
All-Star game,
Yeah.
consecutive strikeouts by Carl Hubbell.
I know.
Carl Hubbell struck out in order Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Jimmy Fox, Al Simmons, Joe Cronin, all Hall of Famers, 5 consecutive strikeouts. That is an impressive statistic.
Yeah.
But that's my trivia for tonight. I know we're up against the clock, and I want to make sure everybody else gets a chance to discuss what's on their mind. So I pass it off to the VIP.
All right, 10 seconds for the VIP.
All right, so some comments were made, and they usually get me to thinking. So I'm going to talk about them now. I want to share a story with all of you and you guys, because this is important. This is
Thank
something
you. I
pivotal.
feel honored.
So when I was little, I got this baseball video game. The first one I ever got was a 2K Sports video game from 2005, and they were mimicking an ESPN broadcast with John Miller and Joe Morgan. And part of the reason I loved playing that game was not only could I play with the Pirates back then, who were just 12 or 13 years into their eventual 20-year losing stretch.
Yeah.
But no, and I really did play with them when I was younger. But I also got to hear.
Well, that is our hometown
Yeah,
team.
but I also got to listen to broadcasters for the first time through those games. Sitting there I think I was 6 when I got it, and a lot of the times when I would listen to broadcasts, they got more into depth than I was able to handle at that age. But it was really cool to play those the games because back then the phrases weren't as elaborate, so you would hear the same kind of the same verbiage over and over again. And by the time I was 10, I was picking up on it so much that I would mute the guys in the game and I would try to recreate what they were saying on my own just as I was playing. And then that turned into, when I started getting more articulate as a teenager and then, an adult, by that time, I was in high school, I was like, man, I really want to make a career out of this. I want to talk about baseball.
So that
And
inspired
it
you.
was all inspired by video games. And that's part of this opinions that I want to share about
Can I see
tonight.
your thumbs?
Yeah, why?
They're strong.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
I
So-
noticed that about your generation.
So I want to talk about it because I feel like the perception is, and Chip has mentioned a few times that the guys who are in front of their video game consoles strive for that perfection, and there's something about being a video gamer, being in an age where technology rules, that there are things that that make that not as good, or that you can't appreciate certain aspects of real life because you're in a virtual world. But the story about me in broadcasting is one of those stories where it's like, there are ways that the video games, and not just even with baseball, but with sports video games in general, that really complement the sports that are played in real life. And I'll mention too about some of the past players too that I learned about. There was this one video game that I was just playing recently, and I went back and I played it again because you're in a mode where you create yourself and you strive to become a legend and be the best that ever played. And while it's about you getting good at and being the best, it's cool how they implement a bunch of lessons in history based on players that have come, all in the past, and they give a feature in each game that you play as you work toward the Hall of Fame to they give a little story and they give a little background to players that were pivotal to the game of baseball. So like Kirk Gibson hitting the home run in 1988 on two
one
bad
leg.
legs. How Roberto Clemente, his ability to field with such grace and majesty, how he changed the way outfielders and players from out of the country were
How
perceived
about
in
his
baseball.
basket catch?
Exactly, yeah. Players used to field like this, and now they field like that. So, I mean, Willie Stargell and his just uncanny ability to to hit for power after, like, swinging a sledgehammer
One
on deck.
question. Did
Yes,
they have his windmill pose?
they did. They do, yeah.
Just wanted to check to verify.
So I learned a lot about the history of players through interacting with video games. There's only so much, really, that you want to... I mean, you could read, and I'll get that point, but there's so much more value in recreating a way for you to be immersed in the experience and really get involved in that. And I talk about that too because now you have video games that are today. That game that I was playing before was from 2009, but you've got games today now where they've got the most realistic situations you can have. The strike zone in video games that they make, and they've been doing this for a while, you can change the variety of the strike zone. So you can make it so they don't call it perfectly. You'll have customized umpires throughout the games, which is really cool. I mean, you got batting stances, you've got ratings. They've got players sometimes you can pick from. It's like Clemente had a card from 1960 and then from 1971, so you could play in his All-Star prime, or you can play, in his veteran year when he got his 3,000th hit right before he passed away after that offseason. So, I mean, if you're out there watching and you're older and you're watching some of your young, whoever, your sons or your nephews or
grandkids,
any grandkids or, sons, daughters, nieces, nephews, anybody like that.
Smoking Jim got grandkids.
Yeah, I mean, if you're watching them and you're concerned that and you're concerned that they're too like immersed in their virtual reality, just understand though that it's cool. It's fun to watch them play and it's fun to watch what they do, but it's also fun and it's a compliment. It's not taking away from the reality. It's a compliment to go back and to relive experiences or experience players in a way that you can do it personally. For me, it's been, trying to mimic when I was younger, John Miller and Joe Morgan, may he rest in peace. Listening to
Did
them.
they have the chicken wing with Morgan?
They did, yeah, they do.
Okay,
yeah, they
just
got their batting
checking.
stance correct. But I mean, him as a broadcaster when he was on ESPN.
okay.
Listening to John Miller and Joe Morgan talk like they did, or like, again, I'll remind everybody, I was born in 1998. There are certain players that I was not alive to watch, and that was out of my control. So when you have a video game that, and MLB The Show does a beautiful job of this, just like recreating the essence of that player. So, I mean, like, you can't replace the real thing, but I didn't have a choice to see the real thing. So, like, being able to experience those players, like, it's so valuable for kids and then young adults my age who didn't get to experience that, to have a tool and a resource like that to go learn about players, to be immersed in the action, to like be told stories and then not only be told the stories or read about the stories, but play through what this player looked like and acted like, and you do it all in a stage of imperfection. You got the old stadiums that used to have these weird dimensions. You can customize a strike zone to either have it called perfect or you can have it called like nonsense, and you can get frustrated like in real life. So again, that's my opinion for today. Don't shun video games away. Embrace them. I mean, you don't want to get locked into video games, but if they're complementing the real life sports that are going on, you turn into me, I guess. With announcing, or maybe a young kid will get inspired to play baseball because they can look up to and actually watch a representation of a player that played in the past that they weren't able to watch in real life.
Well, we appreciate your opinion, but I learned more from reading books on my baseball heroes and played baseball, had success.
Is there a player?
But I read many books on all these superstars, from Babe Ruth being an orphan, that his family got rid of him in Baltimore because he was so tough to handle. And look at how different breaks went his way. I read about Joe DiMaggio. He was like Smoking Jim. He had all the sweeties in the world in whatever city he went.
But
And he didn't pay for anything.
But this mode I'm talking about in that one video game, when you get to like
No,
where
but
you
here-
play Babe Ruth,
here's
you're
my
like
perspective. I'm just saying my perspective. I didn't need the video interaction. Your generation has all changed. Look, I'm hooked on a cell phone now. I can't live without it, and to do business and other things. So your perspective is totally different from how I grew up, but yet I made it to the same place as you. So to me, like going in a neighborhood, Smoking Jim only drives one way. But there's 10 different ways to get to any city. And we all take different paths. So you're allowed your different path. You're allowed yours. Chip and I are more traditional with baseball and the fundamentals and the classics that we learned and played and did it. Unlike Smoking Jim doesn't know his catcher. So, you know, these things are, you can't get away from. But you knew who you played with. You could tell me your coach,
I could.
right?
See,
Tell me your coach's name.
How many? I got them all.
One coach.
Bob Gustine.
Thank you.
Yeah, everything I've ever learned about baseball, I learned two ways: researching it, reading about it, and
Yeah.
playing the game.
Well, you're
You know,
co-signing what I'm saying.
you know, so I didn't have video games, and I'm glad that I didn't. I mean, I've got an opinion about them. I'll keep that to myself.
No, and that's
and that's fine. And I'm not going to disparage young Nick's here
Yeah.
because he's completely different. He's a couple of generations younger than me.
well,
Because unlike my friend next to me, I will admit to people that I'm just a couple of months shy of my 62nd birthday.
yeah.
But I mean, the game that I've loved my whole life, the direction that it's heading in right now, I find questionable, and I can give you a lot of different reasons why without disparaging anybody. But I don't see the better athletes were worse performance. And I could if I had the time to pull up the statistics to prove my point, I would. But just when I go by is not by statistics; it's the eye test.
Right.
It's like what I'm seeing on the field, and I watch a lot of baseball.
Sure.
Listen to a lot of baseball games. I go to a lot of baseball games.
And that's one of the reasons I started the show, to get different people's perspectives. I only got Nick by 43 years. So I got quite the different attitude and belief system that I have it.
I only got it by 40.
Yeah, well, I'm just sharing that. So I recommend all of you to read baseball books, biographies, autobiographies on sports and anything else. Read the history of the sport. The Negro League baseball book I gave Smoking Jim, he's not a historian or a reader. 17 pages he read.
But I'm saying in the
No, but
in
I'm
the
not disparaging
No, I know you're not.
anything that you know.
That's why I would like to say, I'd like to sit, you and I sit together and watch a baseball game, and I'd like you to just talk to you about baseball that I'm seeing, see it through my eyes. It might change your perspective.
Here's what I have to say. We're closer than we think with our attitudes and opinions.
Fair enough, right?
And you just go with that. A lot of it is just a little bit of a difference.
Sure.
That's all I'm pointing out.
But when I said about the video games,
Well,
I didn't know that.
Smoking
before. That
Jim
was
doesn't
great.
have a clue about any of that.
what I
so
wanted
we
to
appreciate
what I wanted
that.
to what I wanted to say that enhances your point as well is that
Well,
in a world immersed in class and school and trying to juggle my own athletics, it was nice to wear a game when I'm like young. I'm talking like 8, and you've got this game that you can play where you're not expecting to get this experience that you're getting, but you play it because you buy the game, and then this mode surprises you because you just you get a title and then you click on something and then
Well,
there
again,
it is.
that's your
It
perspective.
right? But it cut right through to the point where it cracked the surface for me to then go and do my own investigating into the players that were up there because I'm like, oh, Kirk Gibson hit a home run on 2 bad legs. I'm going to watch that happen, and then you'll learn more about him, and then you read more about him.
I
and
remember
research.
watching that happen live on TV.
Well, I wasn't there. That's my whole point. That's the whole point.
And I'm
That
gonna
is,
tell you
if you
something.
take nothing away from this segment, I wasn't there because I wasn't born.
But the thing that was so amazing about it was that the Dodgers were severe underdogs. The A's,
I know they
had
were. The
steamrolled
Bash Brothers, I know all
everybody
about it. And you
that
know how I
year.
figured out about that? Because video games cracked the surface for me. That's my whole point. And then you go and you do the research and you do, and then you get naturally interested by some element breaking your, cracking the ice cracking the surface to your interest, and that's what I'm talking about. But I wasn't
Yeah, but
there.
again, that's your perspective.
Yes.
Just like with the Bash brothers. Smoking Jim.
Oh, they were on
believes-
steroids.
Smoking Jim believes
yeah, they
if
were.
you're not cheating, you're not trying. So I read about why they were like that. And you could see articles that were written that they were on steroids.
Yeah,
And
Jose
guess what was
Canseco and Mark
illegal
McGwire
then?
and-
It was illegal to be on steroids, whether baseball okayed it or not. It's illegal to get a steroid prescription because a doctor has to okay it. So I learned a couple things by reading. There's a law, there's illegal activity, and there's cheating. And I learned another thing, that people look away from it, like the leaders of baseball, because they wanted to pump the crowds up.
Oh, absolutely. The owners are every bit as at fault
that's how
as the players were, because to be honest with you, they let it happen. They
And-
could have put a stop to it.
Right, and the other point I wanted to make with Barry Bonds, first, Chief, you said Soto, who won, turned down an offer of $450 million. It was only $440,
Over 15 years.
and it was 15 years. And you ever hear of a name, Mahomes? He wants to be the Mahomes of baseball,
Well, that's what's going to happen. Is the
and he's only 23.
he will be a free agent at the end of the
Yeah.
season. The Nationals will trade him before the end of the season for probably about a half a dozen top prospects.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, they'll lose him and get nothing in return.
Yes.
We all know that's business. Then Amy, shout out to Amy, said, "Chip, I like your pirate shirt."
Thank you, Amy.
Then Chief said again, MVP is a future legend. Interesting perspective. Thanks, Chief. Then Tony from Chick-fil-A wants to know, how come most sports channels say Barry Bonds cheated and should not be in the Hall of Fame, but ESPN hired a cheater, Aroyd, and making him ambassador for baseball? You talk to the owners and people in charge, Tony. This is why these things happen. With me, I knew Barry Bonds wasn't a good person, but he was a great player in Pittsburgh. I knew how arrogant he was. I knew he threw a wife down the steps. I knew he
I
mistreated.
had personal experiences with him. He was a jerk.
Yeah, so, and he was that way because he was an entitled kid growing up with his dad, Barry Bonds. So we knew his flaws.
Bobby.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Bobby. Barry was, yeah. I was on the Barry tangent. So we knew all his faults, and he earned his reputation the old-fashioned way, which I learned, Chip and Smoking Jim hasn't learned. You work hard to get that reputation, and he did that. And there were a couple good stories that I did hear, but they were so few and far between that you wondered what kind of guy he was. And then you saw when he got jealous of guys hitting home runs, he turned. He went to Smoking Jim style, let's cheat. And should he be in the Pirate Hall of Fame? Oh,
Well,
yeah.
Because here's what the thing was. He got jealous because McGwire and Sosa were making more money. Because Barry Bonds at that time was the best player in the game.
Yeah,
Okay? He wasn't the highest paid.
right,
That changed once he started cheating because all of a sudden he became the highest paid.
right. And how did I had his rookie card at 176 pounds. How did his head grow to twice and triple the size? So how do you deny that you were not on it when it was clear? So these are just things that you're testing the intelligence of people that watch it, and the powers that be let it happen. So when the sport lets something happen, like look at the Steelers. If you think they cut their sleeves up here and they weren't, on steroids, if you thought John Kolb was the strongest guy in the NFL not on steroids, you're pretty naive. So we appreciate you watching the show. My segment, I cut it out because On Location are still the same in September. So we'll see what happens. And we got the Joey Favis run. Please stay Joey strong.